Everyone. First of all, I hope you all had a great day one at PopTech. Hope you learned as much as I did, made some new friends, new connections, and also had a chance to explore this beautiful American city, our hometown, Washington, D.C. Again, my name is Stephen Jumper. I am the CEO and one of three co-founders of GhostNote. We are a we are a design and strategy studio based here in Washington, D.C., and a proud partner of PopTech for many years now. When the teams at GhostNote and PopTech selected Departure and Arrival as the theme for this year's conference, I don't think I realized just how personal this concept actually was for me. Nearly 10 years ago, when my co-founders and friends of 25 years and I started our studio, we were almost exclusively fueled by an almost unreasonable belief that our budding grit, skill, and love for one another could power us to success. At the beginning, we could only afford to pay ourselves amounts that made living in DC a month-to-month struggle. But what we lacked in seed money, client prestige, or fortune, we filled with the satisfaction and pride felt from working shoulder to shoulder in tight spaces and pitching ourselves and company as things that truly mattered, even in those times when we found our own confidence in that waning. GhostNote was created to celebrate and create safe spaces for underrepresented stories and storytellers. Today, we're one of the leading Black-owned studios in America. The footprint of our brilliant team spans from DC to New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Buenos Aires. Many of the brands and organizations we call partners today were once the very same that we listed as dream clients: Nike, Apple, Google, the Obama Foundation, and the Smithsonian, to name a few. The past few years especially have come with great new arrivals. In what seems like every month or so, we're welcoming new, inspired, and kind members to our team, and new brands and organizations to our community of partners. And earlier this year, we were invited and accepted and asked to join Q, a global and select network of some of the very best design and strategy agencies in the world. We were the first Black-owned agency to enter the Q community, joining industry leaders like Godfrey Dadich, SY Partners, IDEO, and fellow PopTech speaker Alain Sylvan and his agency, Sylvan. But with the arrival of new relationships, opportunities, and resources, I've personally come to realize that perhaps I lost focus of something along the way. The youthful joy I once always felt able to tap into when times got hard. The times I needed to remind myself why we started GhostNote in the first place. And I'm certainly not the only one of us finding it hard these days to steadily find glee, inspiration, optimism that seemed to come more easily in earlier days. These are tough times. We all feel it. At moments, it seems the assaults are coming from all sides. Division, misinformation, and strong men have surged in ways we might have convinced ourselves we'd left far behind. And if you're Black, brown, Asian, queer, a woman, immigrant, Muslim, disabled, poor, or any other community this nation has willingly classed aside for centuries, it can feel downright exhausting to constantly be the target of some person or power structure's disdain. In 1964, during a speech in Harlem, legendary civil rights and women's rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer shared a vulnerable admission of the cost of enduring injustice and being asked to remain strong despite it. Speaking of the elected officials urging her for patience on voting legislation, she said, "And you can always hear their long sob stories. You know, it takes time. For 300 years, we've given them time. And we've been tired so long, now I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." I will never know the relentless courage Ms. Hamer and so many others before her used to stand in the face of power and weather unspeaking tribulation. What I do know is the pain and confusion of being profiled for simply being Black. I do know the anger and fear of being the target of police brutality on more than one occasion. I do know how it feels to have even the most basic moments of personal peace and happiness swiftly interrupted by the news of yet another Black man, woman, or child unjustly assaulted or killed at the hands of police who couldn't see through to their most basic humanity. I do know the experience of being Black and tired in America. But we cannot allow systems, fear, or division to take away our joy. There are too many seasons to be lived fully, too many stories to be told, too much important work to do. In this particular season, I found myself looking back to the past for guidance. And I think I now know the sort of joy I hope to bring with me on the journey to new arrivals. This photo was taken in 1965, and it features undoubtedly two of the most brilliant Black minds of this generation or any other. For those who don't know, the woman on the left is the incomparable musical genius, Miss Nina Simone. The man on the right, Mr. James Baldwin, who for my money is the very best storyteller or orator of modern day. What strikes me about this image is not the sheer exuberance of Simone and Baldwin that beams through, but the deeper, courageous defiance actually represented in their beautiful smiles. At the time of this photo, Nina Simone was less than a year removed from releasing Mississippi Goddamn. To this day, one of the most piercing rebukes of injustice and white supremacy any musician or artist for that matter has ever shared. After the release of Mississippi Goddamn and her continued outcries against Jim Crow and systemic oppression, she was eventually ostracized by many of the most powerful labels and executives in music. Her commercial career was never the same. In 1965, James Baldwin had only just returned to America after nearly a decade as a Black expatriate in Paris. He had escaped Harlem in the States because the weight and constant threat of racism and homophobia had taken their toll. In the years after his return to America and the front line of the civil rights movement, he had become the target of Hoover's FBI and been deemed a difficult modernist, using his sharp tongue against the Bureau. Simone and Baldwin knew the exhaustion of oppression, but they also knew and held tight to their most precious and sacred joy. Theirs was a revolutionary joy, a mature, earned joy that challenges power, heals hearts and communities. So here's my ask on the second and final day of PopTech 2022. While we're here collaborating and challenging ourselves to solve the big issues of the day, let us each make time to remember the people, places, and simple moments of joy that make this hard work of ours all worth it. Because we'll all need each and every one of them for the road ahead. Welcome to PopTech 2022, Day 2.